Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking something truly visionary. We're looking at a master architectural blueprint designed to completely transform basic education in Osun State, Nigeria. This strategy was authored by Dr. Saheed Opiemi Adebisi. You might know him as Dr. SOA, an internationally recognized thought leader and solution architect. He designed this comprehensive manifesto specifically for the newly appointed executive chairman of the Osun State Universal Basic Education Board, or SUBEB, Aremo Adekunle Adegwega Alau. We're going to see exactly how Osun SUBEB plans to transition into a hyper-responsive, data-driven education ecosystem. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap. Osun's current education reality, the 30-day quick win, translating data into action, 3 pillars of transformation, tracking every child's future, and lastly, a sustainable educational blueprint. Let's set the stage with Section 1. Osun's current education reality, triumphs, and deficits. Right now, Osun State's public schools are sitting at a really fascinating baseline. On one hand, just look at this number. 7th, the state recently made a monumental leap in the NECO rankings, rocketing all the way from 33rd to 7th place nationally. That is a massive win, and it proves that the potential in these schools is absolutely enormous. But on the flip side, we have this heavily contested statistic: 297,000 out-of-school children. Now, whether that exact number is perfectly accurate or heavily debated, it points to a critical structural issue. The board currently lacks an independent, unfiltered data pipeline to capture the real ground truth. You just can't fix a massive out-of-school problem if your data is stuck in a bottleneck of bureaucracy. That brings us right into Section 2, the 30-day quick win, frontline digital needs assessment. To bypass that slow, top-down bureaucracy, the core focus here is a huge structural shift. Chairman Alao actually has a background of excellence at the Public Complaints Commission, and Dr. SOA's blueprint leverages that to shift SUBEB from a static administrative bureaucracy into an Ombudsman-style responsive ecosystem. Basically, instead of waiting for files to slowly crawl up the chain of command, the board becomes an active body that seals structural leaks the second they happen. To pull this off, the blueprint outlines an incredibly fast 30-day timeline. In just the first 5 days, they design a lightweight, mobile-optimized web form. By day 6, it's pushed directly into the hands of head teachers and local school committees via WhatsApp networks. Days 11 through 25, that is when a massive wave of triangulated data rolls in from teachers, parents, and community members. By day 30, the chairman has a verified ground truth roadmap of the entire state's educational landscape. And what's brilliant here is what they're actually tracking. It's not just abstract test scores. It's called the Floor Sitting Index. This metric tracks if every single child has a desk, if they're squeezed forward to a bench, or if they are quite literally sitting on the bare floor or concrete blocks. It instantly grounds the data in the physical, everyday reality of the students. Moving right along to Section 3, translating data into action, the intervention locks. And this brilliantly illustrates how they prevent all that fresh data from just sitting in a file somewhere. It translates field data into what they call intervention locks. So if the data shows a floor gap, meaning kids are sitting on the floor, boom, it triggers a truck delivery of desks immediately. No middlemen. If a school gets flagged with a blown-off roof, it hits the red line hazard lock and emergency structural funding is deployed. It is proactive, and it's instant. The manpower gap lock is a real game changer here. Even with 660 new teachers recently inducted, there's still a big urban-rural imbalance. So by cross-referencing enrollment data against active teachers, SUBEB can flag schools where ratios exceed 1 to 55 and apply data-backed freezes on urban transfers. The ultimate target? A strict 1 to 35 teacher-to-pupil ratio, especially out in those rural border towns. Next up is Section 4, 3 pillars of transformation, rebuilding the ecosystem. Once the immediate fires are out, the blueprint shifts to these 3 long-term structural supports. We have predictive infrastructure preservation, decentralized participatory diagnostics, and longitudinal outcome tracking. Let's break these down. So looking at the second pillar, it's all about decentralized citizen science. They use a simple automated WhatsApp bot. A rural parent doesn't need a fancy new app taking up phone storage. They just text the word audit to the bot, answer a few questions, and upload a photo of a cracked wall or a broken borehole. That info goes straight into the chairman's master map, empowering local voices instantly. To back this up, school-based management committees take active charge. They transition from being passive observers to legal custodians. Minor project funding goes into co-signed accounts held by head teachers and community leaders. Plus, any new upgrade requires a community maintenance pact to make sure the locals actually protect and preserve the asset. But, an ecosystem isn't just about buildings, right? It's about people. The blueprint prioritizes teacher welfare to drive motivation. We're talking hardship incentives where rural teachers earn promotional credits faster. There's also localized mental health support to prevent burnout, and micro-credentialing for basic AI tools and foundational literacy to upgrade their skills. This leads us to Section 5, Tracking Every Child's Future, the OBEN system. This is arguably the most revolutionary part of the tracking mechanism. OBEN stands for the Osun Basic Education Number. It's a unique identifier used to track a student's progress way beyond their basic graduation. By cross-referencing neighborhood census data against classroom registers, OBEN acts as a street-to-school pipeline, actively recovering marginalized children and getting them back into the system. Let's move to how this builds over time. It creates a longitudinal pipeline. It tracks kids from primary 1 through 6, then through junior secondary, and critically, it polls senior secondary principals and university officers to see how these public school alumni eventually perform in their WAC, NECO, and JAMB exams years down the line. It proves whether foundational work is actually driving long-term success. And finally, Section 6, a sustainable educational blueprint, the global impact. When you build a system this transparent, the global community absolutely takes notice. By turning raw spreadsheets into live, color-coded executive visualization maps, Chairman Allow gains a verifiable roadmap. This transparency is a massive magnet for international partnerships. It positions Osun for UNICEF device and school feeding support, gives them a huge competitive edge for federal UBEC matching funds, and opens up decolonial knowledge alliances with global tech hubs. The entire vision is beautifully summarized by the blueprint's lead architect, Dr. Soa. He says, education is not merely a pipeline for academic certification, but the foundational infrastructure for human dignity. Transnational governance begins by mapping the needs of the child sitting on a bare floor. True, systemic delivery absolutely has to start at the grassroots. Dr. O's blueprint proves that before you can fix a system, you have to bypass the bureaucracy to find the ground truth. So it leaves us with this question. If a responsive education ecosystem begins with mapping a single rural classroom, what invisible data gaps are holding back your community's future? Think about it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, and we'll see you next time.